Hello and welcome to a look at mini golf for the Commodore 64, a game that was developed by Pacific DataWorks International and released by Capcom. The concept of mini golf is a miniature version of real golf to a certain point. Real golf, of course, is for most people either something they absolutely love to play and watch, or they have an extreme disinterest in playing or watching it. But it is definitely a game of skill and maybe 2% luck. But for most people, it is inaccessible for various different reasons. Whereas, of course, mini golf is more of a family type golf game thing where you have a golf course at a much smaller scale but with some added differences, mainly in the amount of obstacles that are thrown in the way to make things as interesting or frustrating for the players as possible. In this specific game, you have obviously, just like in golf and real mini golf, a par score for a hole that you have to pass. The game gives you a certain amount of holes that you can screw up on before you game over, and you screw up by scoring above the course or the hole's par. If you go below the hole's par, you are not given extra holes you can play on. So the first few games are going to be extremely short because until you learn the trick, technique, skill, luck, whatever you call it, in order to overcome the challenges a whole presents, you are not going to get very far. The game can be played 1 to 4 players, and in that regard it is a bit wonky because player 1 and 3 will share joystick 1, and player 2 and 4 will share joystick 2. Which, yeah, I mean, if it's something that you will experience, then it might be a bit convoluted, but if you're just playing by yourself, it doesn't really matter. From a technical point of view, the graphical side, it is what it needs to be, which is perhaps a bit of a cop out to say that, but thankfully, a game like mini golf doesn't require excellent graphics to portray what it's trying to portray. The graphics and special effects and all that kind of stuff, of course, helps, but as long as the gameplay is remotely enjoyable, you can be more tolerant towards the graphics not being of an epic caliber. And while the graphics are definitely not bad, and you can easily identify the different things that you see on screen, it's not going to impress anyone. Personally, I'm perfectly happy with it because I enjoy golf as a whole, both real golf and mini golf. But the individual may have higher requirements than I have. The music, I think it's a bit generous calling it music because it's more like an ambient background thing going on. I find it surprisingly hard even to give any evaluation of it because I barely noticed it. I didn't notice there was some click clack thing, whatever, going on in the background, but I don't think there's enough of it, and I don't think it is audible enough for me to give it any evaluation. The sound effects themselves are perfectly fitting for the type of game. The sound of you hitting a ball and hitting barriers and getting it in the hole and all that kind of stuff sounds perfectly fine. Some of the added obstacles on some of the later holes give out some incredibly annoying sounds, and I'm not the greatest fan of white noise, and some of the obstacles definitely dip very, very heavily into white noise, and yeah, not a fan. The controls are interesting, I would say, because when you tee off from one of the holes, you will have one or more spots where you can select to shoot the ball from. And once selected, you hit the fire button to select the starting point, and then a plus sign will start spinning around your ball. And you will have to click to set the direction of the ball's travel before the plus sign closes in and reaches the ball, because then you lose your turn, or if you play by yourself, you lose a stroke. Once you have set the direction of the ball, you use the joystick and move right or left. You can see at the top of the screen there's a bunch of carrots, whatever they're called, indicating the amount of shot power we're using. And then you hit the fire button yet again to fire off the shot. The controls are fine, and you could argue that in order to add an extra layer of challenge, the ability to not set the shot direction as you wanted yourself could be an added gameplay element, but I'm sure that a lot of people will find it rather frustrating because of the fact that if you are one pixel off, then the ball can go in a very different direction from what you desire to go, and that will likely be very, very annoying after a while. Mini golf is mini golf. There's not much else to say about it. But there is a few things to say about this game specifically. Because of the fact that you only have a few holes in which you are allowed to screw up, basically, and while you do have a continue, you do have one continue. So if there's a specific hole you are struggling with quite significantly, once you reach what would be 4 shots over par, the game will say that you have used too many shots and send you on to the next hole, assuming you have any holes spare. And as you start out playing this game, you will quickly run out of holes spare. And it is entirely up to the individual as to whether they have the patience to endure the frustration that can be involved in trying to set up the perfect shot and hope to time it alongside any obstacles there may be, and have a bit of luck in how the obstacles interact with the ball. You can compensate for it somewhat by experience, but you need to play the game quite a bit in order to get that experience, and I can easily see how certain players would not want to spend the time required to gain that experience. Because of the fact that this is a 1 to 4 player game, it is obviously going to be much more enjoyable playing with other people, especially if you're all crap at the game and can laugh at each other's misfortune. But I personally quite enjoy golf, and while it's not the best mini golf game I've ever played, I would happily play it until I've mastered all 18 holes, which would probably take a while. And on that note, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.